It's good to be back at UMA. We had a great time last time over at Newgate Mall. Okay. We ought to go to the mall. We had better attendance. First off, even though they aren't present in the room, we're probably being monitored and watched by somebody, but we do appreciate the ability to come to UMA. And even more, we appreciate the fact that we now have an access card that works. And you'll notice that we were able to come right in through the door. There's no problem. And we anticipate that'll continue. This morning there is another group coming in at 11 o'clock, so we'll need to wrap up and be done about 1:45 or so. First off, do we have any visitors today? Someone who's not been with us before? Introduce yourself first.
Okay. John Bullock. Moved into the Ogden area about 2 years ago. I work with Mike Fulmer. I'm an electrical engineer. I have a amateur license.
Okay.
So I've never broadcast here in Utah.
Well, that's a good thing because we don't broadcast, but we do transmit.
I haven't transmitted or broadcast.
Now, Mike can tell you all about that because he knows everything, honestly. Yeah, you're tied with a good guy there. We'll get to our other new visitor here in a moment, who is actually our presenter today, who we appreciate. Let's see. Any new hams who just got their licenses? I don't believe so. Any upgrades? I know we have folks working on upgrades because I've seen you at the general class. It has just started. And it's awesome.
Power on.
Okay,
so annoying.
We know you're here now, Dave.
Okay. We're going to use this. We have learned by sad experience that it's got to be here. Otherwise, it'll be feedback all day. Just for your information, our general class, which is being held at Weber State and is being on Zoom, both. This past Wednesday night, we had 21 participants. And we will have more next week because there were a couple that couldn't attend the first week. But we're really excited about it. Nathan West, who's Associate Professor of Electrical Engineering up at the university, has provided the classroom for us, and he's helping us teach. Nathan has a way of teaching Hamtramck that I can even understand, so it's great. We really appreciate him. And we're going to try and twist his arm, see if he'll help us do an extra class during August and September. So if you're thinking about that, okay. This is dangerous. Okay. Still dangerous. Down a little bit. Down a little more. Okay. Down. A couple of other quick announcements. We've had, is it still echoing? Yeah. Down more?
Yeah, it's got reverb on it or something, doesn't it? Is the reverb turned up?
I don't know. There is an echo feature, but it should be off.
Sounds like that.
Maybe if you point it over that way.
It's probably just the room. There's not a lot to dampen sound in this room. The little black badges that we offer that you can buy, that many of you have taken a huge cost increase to us. They went from about $16 to $23 is what it's cost us now. So to order one will be $25 if you want one. Okay. Alternatively, if you'd like one of these pretty badges here, you get it for $5. And Jay's got them with us today, and he's happy to take your money and give you a badge. All right. Applications. If you're not a member of ARRL, we encourage you to consider that. We have membership applications here. If you're not a member of the Ogden Amateur Radio Club, we have applications here. And Val and Jay can both help you with those. And the most important announcement of the day, Pete just arrived with donuts, so go back and grab them. What else do we have? Next month, for the April meeting, which will be here, we're going to have a presentation on the Utah Bridge, which is sort of a reflector, but not a reflector. It's digital, and it's a presentation that was given at the Utah Digital Communications Conference this year, and it's really quite fascinating. They are tying together all the digital modes into one. So if you call in on Fusion, and you want to talk to somebody on P-Star or on P25, it's a way of translating all of that so that it works. All right. So, can anybody actually hear me, or is it still echoing?
It's stupid. Just turn that thing off.
Yeah, I need to turn it off, or maybe put a point over there where they can't hear it.
Just speak up.
Just don't use it. You don't need it.
Just yell.
Can you hear me now?
You betcha.
Thank you.
Well, there's times when we're going to need it, and I appreciate those who have gone to the trouble to get these purchased and set up, because the other mic we had, you had to talk into it straight, and it was hard to hold. You use both hands. So
This mic has the other problem. It picks up everything. It'll even pick up you guys snoring when you fall asleep in the front. So it's way too sensitive. All righty, where are we? I have recognitions, and I have people I want to recognize aren't here, so sorry.
VHF Society swap meet.
Yes, the VHF Society Swap Meet is the last Saturday, the 30th of March. It'll be down in Farmington again. Farmington keeps threatening to tear the building down and not let us use it anymore, but this year we're still there. There will not be the business meeting because they've already had that in connection with the Digital Communications Society back the 3rd of February, I think. So, and the last thing I want to talk about just really quickly is Hamcom Zion. Hamcom Zion's the Mountain West Division Conference for ARRL. There will actually be 3 different conferences going on. One is the National Ladies Conference. They're celebrating, I think it's their 85th year, and that'll be cool. We have been invited to host a booth there and have created a QSL card specifically for that event. And we're working on designing a booth and figuring out what's going to be and who's going to be there and all that good stuff. If you are interested in going down, it is July, I believe it's 11th and 12th. It's at St. George at the Dixie Convention Center, inside, air-conditioned. And I've already got my reservations. I've already got my hotel. If you want to get one, that's probably a good time to go do it. Also, there is an RV park that's offering some discounts if you want to take an RV down. I think we already have that on our website. If we don't, we'll find it and get it out there. Where'd Val go? There you are.
I don't have anything on there.
We'll get it to you. Okay. We're working on all kinds of stuff, and we don't need to worry about the rest of that for this meeting. We'll talk about that more next time. So without further ado, Kent is going to introduce our presenter today.
Guest speaker is Brian Papworth of Connext. Let me tell you a brief background. I was assigned to Turkey in the Air Force, in the Armed Forces Radio and TV Service, and we had a cable TV station there on base. I lived on base. I didn't go to Vietnam, so it was a company tour. I shipped my car over, and it was a beautiful assignment instead of Vietnam. But then came back, applied for a job at radio at KBNU, and they saw my cable TV experience, and so I ended up building and managing the cable system in Logan from 1970 to 1980. The first 60 miles was 12 channels, all solid state. It was pretty nice at that time. So then California, a couple of years of cable. But then South Ogden City was considering Connext's proposals to build fiber in South Ogden City. So I went around and took pictures of the cable and the fiber on the poles and sort of coached one of the city council women on what I thought that they should look like. And Connext was successful in building in South Ogden. I think there's other companies trying now too. They don't have a contract like cable does with the city, but Brian can mention what cities they're building or operating in our area when he comes up here. Brian is a ham operator from Illinois, so it's a K8 or Ohio. Columbus, Ohio is close. And he's got a couple of attachments to the club even before he moved here, so I'll let him mention that. He's into skiing and snow sports, and his father is somewhat of a historian that has some good stuff on his website. So hopefully his ham radio experience will help us understand what fiber optics is all about. Brian, come on up.
Morning, everybody.
Morning.
Brian Papworth, KB8ENW. So my connection to the club is in 2007 at Field Day. I actually worked on 20-meter sideband. I worked the club, that was, I didn't have the exact time. My dad went through the old log books and found those. My dad and I would go alone. It was just me and I. We won pretty much every year, so we're pretty good at it. My dad only does code. He just actually worked the club at Winter Field Day in January, so whoever was on code would have worked my dad. So he's K8MP, I'm KB8ENW. My dad does, he was talking about my dad being a historian, so he has something called Joe's Place. He writes books. We've published a couple of books. I'm on one of the covers, which is cool. They're about this thick, and it's all historical accounts. He was, the most recent one, the one that I had sent to you, was that my dad, when he was a novice, you guys might remember this, when he was a novice, he had to have a crystal that went in, so you were stuck on one frequency, which would be different than now, obviously, with everything being digital. So I'm not from the fiber background initially. I live in Eden, and I took what I call a town job. I work at ski resorts in the outdoor industry. So I take a town job, and where does it lead me? It leads me directly into telecommunications, which is awesome. My role at Connext is we are building, we're different than most companies, where we are the construction company, which usually this is separate, as well as the internet service provider. So we actually provide the internet, so we're the one that gains you access to the internet, but we actually have to build the entire network. So some of the components that I have here is what it takes to build the network all the way to provide it inside of your home. I didn't bring much, it's some pretty basic stuff. But with fiber, I was kind of grasping at what the connection was between ham radio and fiber. Unless you're doing your logbooks online, it's probably not a lot. But we do actually have a wireless network. We are phasing that out. Everybody, we all have these in our pockets. This is mobile wireless. Well, we do fixed wireless, where we have an antenna. They're all on the bench, all the way from North Salt Lake all the way to Box Elder County. where we transmit. We use about 4.9 gigahertz is what we transmit on. So pretty similar to your router that you have inside your house. We transmit it, but that we know, it's not like a phone. Where a phone you're up around 22 to 25 gigahertz. This will penetrate. It can penetrate the walls, penetrate everything else. 4.9 or 5 gigahertz. The trees and stuff kind of block it. So then we have line of sight issues. So wireless isn't really the best way, and you can only transmit so much data through the air. That's kind of you guys would know the most about. Probably a lot more than I would know about that. But we got into now gone from wireless to the best way now. Everybody thought, you could send it through the air. But the best way is to truly have a hardwire or hardline. The big difference of what fiber is, and I might be telling you guys what you already know, is that it transmits with light. We transmit, so we can use one strand like this. Pretty much all the data for all of Ogden could go through one strand this big. That's what's pretty amazing. We dedicate one strand like this to each home. You can see it's super thin. We dedicate one strand for each home. The way that we split it to make it go to each home is something like this. I'll explain a little bit more about that in just a second. So how we get fiber to people's homes is we actually build it there, because we don't use existing infrastructure. The infrastructure that's been put in, you guys probably saw it all go in. We had phone line go in. Then we had cable go in. You guys probably saw the cable go in. It's pretty similar to that. Cable, a lot of it they just kind of laid on the ground or just put a little bit under the ground and just trenched it. We're actually building what we call I'm estimating a 30 to 50-year infrastructure. We use this bigger conduit. We come along first. We run this bigger conduit through the ground. And then it goes to vaults, which are in-ground utility vaults, kind of similar, like the pads are the ones that the cable companies have that are sticking up. Yes, sir?
There's pictures on the back of the table that I printed out. I saw one of your crews doing that. So sometime before you leave, take a look at some of those pictures and you'll see the vaults.
Yeah, this is what we call a tier 3. It actually comes up, and then when you push it down, it actually recesses under the ground. A lot of this, and this stuff is a lot of this is aerial. We do aerial on the power poles when we can. A lot of places, obviously, utilities are underground. That's where we go. We're probably 60-40 underground to aerial, maybe 70-30 underground to aerial. We first introduced this, so that's why you see these drills, and that's why you see all this construction. Because if you guys live in the Ogden area, you're seeing it. I mean, it's happening. This is kind of a hotbed right now for connectivity. Some of the cities we work in, like Clinton, Kaysville, at one point we were the only ones doing it. And then along comes out-of-state companies, or Comcast, or CenturyLink, which they fly under Quantum or Lumen. They come in and they say, hey, let's get into this thing too, because we just set up in one spot, we just push north, set up another spot, kind of push south, just to do the entire area. Then once we put this in, we actually run a cable pretty similar to this. It's actually a little bit thicker, but it has the same number of strands, through this. And then that's where it pops up in each vault. And then in each vault we have, this is actually an aerial map here, that actually I should probably get, so we have a nap, so we'll splice inside of the nap, and that's where we bring it up to each house. So then there's the ability, so the fiber is spliced in each of these, but then it's also spliced in what we call our active cabinet. And that's where we have our OLT. That's our optical line terminal. So this is where we plug in here, and then it plugs into these things, and there'll be, and in this picture you can see there's just a whole bunch of them. That's just a small version. We have like a little test one that we mess around with in our office, just to make, just to show. It's even just a show one. But there's a whole bunch of them. Each tier 3 does 128 homes or 128 fibers, and then we can split it. So we can split the signal. We usually will split it. I didn't bring a splitter with me, but it's similar to this box. I think it's a 32 splitter right here. Yeah, it's a 32 splitter. We'll use a 1x4 splitter like up at apartments and stuff like that, or up at buildings. Most of them we just do directly to people's homes. And then from there, once everything is spliced, everything is built, we actually go from the vault where this is, and we take a little piece of conduit and go up to people's homes. And that's where we attach to what we call our ONU, which is our NID, which is our network interface device, is on the side of people's homes. And so what we're doing is we're building something we feel is going to last as long as the technology is going to be viable. We had, cable had its run for 20 years or whatever it was. We're guesstimating 30 to 50 years, so we're building an infrastructure to match it. So we want to make sure everything is tight, everything is in conduit, everything is built correctly. Then once we get here, then we bring it up to your home, where we do what we call a fiber drop. This is actually a little test splice thing that we're messing with. This plugs inside of the NAP, goes up to the NID, so that we have all kinds of acronyms, just like ham radio. We have the NAP's the network access point. So even though there's fiber, unless you have something to plug into, it doesn't work. So then we go up to the NID, and then we do the same kind of wire, which is a drop cable, which is just a patch cord that the light goes through. And then it goes inside of your home, and then it plugs into one of these, which is called an ONU. It's an optical network unit. I have a little video that we made the other day when we made the first connections in Sunset. We just went live in Sunset. We just hooked up. I had a crew come out. We hooked up the very first houses, and we recorded it, which is pretty cool. We got them online and everything. So this
would be in the house?
Pardon me?
Where would those be in the home?
This would be directly next to your router. So this is what transitions it from light to signal that the computer can read. So this goes to Cat 5 or Cat 6 or 5E or 6. So this can actually be outside. Some houses have Cat 5 or Cat 6 just sticking out of the side. So we'll actually we'll trim those, put RJ45, and actually plug them in. And this can live outside as well. It just needs to be powered. This is the thing that powers it for the computer. So it can be both inside, usually next to your router, or outside.
Hanging on the wall.
Yeah, we'll actually go to a faceplate. Actually, I didn't bring one of the faceplate setups that we have, but there's a faceplate that we'll mount. We'll drill a hole, kind of like with any other jack, and then this just screws to the front of it. And then from there, then you just have a little patch cable, little patch cord.
Is it waterproof?
These are not waterproof. So these need to be in a dry place. So we have weatherproof boxes. Each of our boxes has a little seal around it. I have a bigger one as well. I think I left it in the truck that we do for apartments that are bigger. That has a whole bunch of these inside of it. But it needs to be weatherproof. So these aren't waterproof. So that's how it gets it. That's how it gets to your home. So the way that we can use one fiber and transmit, because it's symmetrical. This is what makes fiber so much cooler than any copper. Is copper, obviously they can push it because they're pushing TV, like copper, coaxial, they're pushing TV, but it doesn't go back the other direction the same. So you're pushing all this, they can push a whole bunch, but you're only getting like 5 or 10 megabits upload, which makes a big difference. And this is a huge difference because one Ring camera uses like 20 megabits or something. I'm not 100% sure, but that's where a lot of the tech companies that are selling, all the like Best Buy or whatever, these companies selling stuff for smart homes, they really push for fiber and they're really behind it because you have a Ring camera, you have a garage door that opens with your phone or whatever, and then you have a little bit of other stuff that's smart in your home. You use up all the upload speed that you get out of Comcast. The difference with fiber is it's symmetrical. It's the same both directions. So if you have 250 megabits, which is the quarter gig, it's the same upload and download. So you can send back the same amount of data as you can receive. And it goes up to a half gig, full gig. We go all the way up to, we're building that's what makes this so cool, is that every single one of these strands can send up to 100 million Zoom calls per strand per home. So it's scalable. The only thing bottlenecking at this point is the hardware. That's what, we just, as hardware gets upgraded, then the amount of data that can be sent is larger. And I think people confuse the speed with how much data you can send. It's fiber, so it's fast. It's fast no matter what. It's just how much you can send at one time. Then we actually throttle it so you can send a quarter gig or a half gig or a full gig. So, but it's, say you send a gig in a second, to put it in perspective of what people get limited with Comcast, is you could, in 27 minutes, if you just sent your gig, you would then max out your entire month's allotment that you can utilize with Comcast. So it's pretty cool. And the way that we send it both directions, and this I find real interesting, is to go one direction, because it's like, how does it go different directions at the same time? 'Cause it's light. Well, we have it, we transmit it at 15.3 or something nanometers to the home, but then it goes back away from the home at 13.5. So we were able to go past each other on different frequencies. It doesn't interfere, which is really cool. And then we take it, when it goes back to this, which is cool because this sends it to your house, but then when it goes back here, it goes through some stuff, and then it goes into what we call our pipe. Everybody's stuff gets pushed into one stream, and then it just goes out into the internet, and then you've got 40 gigs going to wherever it goes. It's pretty cool how they tunnel it and channel it. And there's specialists that's what they do, how to channel the stuff that comes from your IP address to go to the IP address it's supposed to go to while it's in this mass amount of data, and how it breaks off. It's pretty cool how the whole thing works. That's stuff that I don't specialize in. I'm a person that just specializes just in that stuff. Do you have a question?
And so you held up that really flimsy little thing and said that's one home. When it goes back to the hub or whatever, like from you going city to city, do you use that same single strand, or is it a whole bundle of strands?
It's just like this. So the way that this goes is the way that we segment it out is these are, and I actually have color codes, is we call them loose tubes, but it's the jacket colors, it's the jacket around it. So the way that we segment it, because all of the data for all of Ogden could send through that one little string. That's what's so amazing about it. But then you have to break it off to get it to each home. So you drop them you do a drop, and you do one fiber drop. So inside of here is, each of these is a loose tube, that's green, and inside is 12 inside of each one. So that's how you segment off each one. Green, blue, right? Yellow.
So 12 different strands.
There's 12 fibers in that green jacket.
Yeah,
that would be 12 homes.
Pretty sure. I think it might be more. Yeah, I think it's 12.
Take your word for it.
Yeah, so there's 12. I've been telling people there's 12. So yeah, this is what we call this is a 64 count. Oh, this is a 84. Oh, there's 84 of them in there. There might be more in there. But so this is, each one has 12, and then that's how so this could send, you could send enough data for like the whole city of Utah probably through this one wire. It's just how do you break it off to each home? So that's really the difference.
You said something really quick there about how many Zoom calls could go through on one.
One of the strands could do 100 million Zoom calls, I think is what the number I've heard.
At the same time.
All simultaneously, and from one house. So that's where having the value of a fiber drop, a fiber strand in each home raises the value of people's homes. It raises people's homes by about 5%, I think is what they estimate. Yes, sir.
Two questions, kind of basic. What goes through, is it all binary? What actually goes through the cable?
Yeah, it's binary.
It's all
Yeah,
binary.
well, it's light. Yeah, so it's light, but that's where it gets transferred. And that's the stuff I don't know that much about. I probably should have brushed up a little bit on that stuff.
Another question is, Comcast is our provider.
Yeah.
How much of what you're saying can we apply to our homes, since our homes on Comcast?
Well, when you get connected to fiber, it'll just. Then you can,
Well, I assume we are, we've got a box for this. I don't know.
Where do you guys live at? Because it's coming. One company or another is going to bring it. It's almost like the railroad right now. So we are in a construction phase. I'm hybrid between where I work in getting it built more than I work in selling it. Because if we don't have it built, there's nothing to sell. And other companies, if they come through first, they will, which Comcast is trying to get into fiber because it's really the future. Then we won't, whichever gets to each home first.
All I know is on the side of our house, there's a little gray box like that one
So
we have there.
there's ones really similar to this all the way back to the phone system, like from the 70s and 80s. I opened one up and was like, oh,
So that isn't necessarily it.
yeah, it's not necessarily it. We can plug into old phone lines as long as it's Cat 5e or Cat 6. And we can transmit a gig through it. Then there's
So we're probably coming to a phone line.
if you have Comcast, it would be coaxial. So that would be, it would be through
You've
coaxial.
probably got no fiber at your house.
Okay.
Where do you live at? I can tell.
If it's all copper, you
Up
got
there.
Oh, yes. Well, we're actually located. So we're on the corner of 46 and Harrison. So I don't know. I did not lead in with my normal lead-in, I guess.
We're on 47.
Yeah, so we are
We're
actually
2 blocks away from you.
Yeah, we are just across. We're just across the street now with our construction, and you can see us going down the road. So we're coming from the north. We're up to about 24th Street coming south, and we're at 30, 40.
Oh, is that you guys putting all this stuff in on the south side?
Yeah, and then there's another company you'll see, so there's a lot of contractors that actually contract for the internet service provider, so they're not actually doing the construction. So they're actually doing the work, so they can blame it on somebody else. Oh, they messed up your stuff. We take the heat on all of it. Like half of my job is me smoothing over. Like, well, we sprinkler heads. Yeah, we did. Yeah, we tried.
You're not in Roy yet, are you?
We are. Yeah, and we are. So we are delivering what I call, this is my terminology. This is internal terminology, and I wouldn't say it over again. But we're delivering the knockout blow to Roy as far as finishing the whole place. When we allocate resources to places, and we'll start building a little bit, and we'll just be building some. But now we have allocated, it's like all ahead full to finish up Roy. We're on track to finish Roy in the next 60 days, I would say. I mean, as far as the infrastructure is complete. There has been other companies that have been in there working. They have unmarked vehicles, all in white. And they have been leaving extreme damages, and they're no longer able to work there. I deal with that too, where I go and check out what's happening.
Yeah, I'm on 3,748.
Yeah, so we do have, so we can provide live service there. We can provide active service. The big part of what we're doing is as we're building, we'll be building, and we can't provide service for like 6 months because we're building it. And so there's that process. There's that time. There's not a process, but that gap. And there is a process, but there's the gap because the next steps you don't really see. You see the drill, you see the guys out there, you see guys with shovels, but then you don't see them doing all the fine-tuning where they're pushing through the fiber. I mean, you might see them quickly, but pushing through the fiber, doing the splicing, and then behind the scenes when we're dialing in the signal and getting everything ready and doing power different places, that stuff takes a long time to do. So we,
a long time.
6 months.
Years?
6 months, yeah. For us, it's a long time because people get excited. It's like we come by your house and we just dug a hole in your yard and we became friends when we fixed your sprinklers. When we fix stuff, we become friends. Like, oh man, you guys do the right thing. But then then it's 6 additional months till we're ready to do it. So that's what makes us different than most other groups is we're doing both sides. We're the construction company as well as the internet service provider.
Once you connect everything, why are you better than what we've got right now?
Because we're local, because we care. You can come to our office and we're in there. We're playing Nerf basketball, like just not doing anything. We are all waiting to help. I mean, we're approachable, we're available, we're local.
Cost?
The cost, so we're at $35 for the quarter gig, $50 for the half gig, and $65 for a full gig, which is pretty good. So the price is there, the quality, we're building a quality infrastructure. We are, I mean, the biggest thing is that you're supporting a local company who is local to the area. I mean, we sponsor the Raptors, we sponsor the Mustangs. We go to, we're part of the community, which is a big thing. I mean, once fiber's laid, which this is the part that I find interesting, is when you had a phone, which phone provider do you have? You didn't have cable. It was like, which cable provider do you have? There was one cable company and one phone company. Now you've got other people in play to where it's like, which fiber do you have? When it's all on the ground, it's all going to be pretty similar with similar speeds, similar capabilities. Really the difference is how it's built. Google does this thing.
Particularly, somebody else, you guys don't share a cable.
No, we do not share cable. It could be used if the components came out and the wires were all spliced together. But Google does a thing where they actually just they do micro-trenching, where they actually just cut into your road, stuff this down in there, no jack, nothing except for the jack on the outside. They just go along, feed it in, then utilibond over top. So it really gets into the difference of the quality of how it's constructed, because the actual strand is going to deliver the same amount of. So that's what makes us different, is we are going the extra mile to build the best possible infrastructure that we can build.
So if you get 2 or 3 fiber companies in an area, you can have multiple of those 2-inch conduits. Each one's a different company.
Yeah, which I find a little bit odd, but so that's how it actually happening.
There's room in each one of those for 20 of those.
20 of those, yeah. So we're dealing with that we go into areas, and I work to get high density areas to allow us to build. I'll get permission, we'll go in and we'll do the milk, and then along comes CenturyLink and just tries to do the same thing. And they'll just try to go right next to us, and I find that a little bit odd, that they're multiple, because they're really looking for it, but that's them trying to catch up with the times, and upgrading their stuff.
I see Connext stuff they use, but I also see CenturyLink they use too.
Yeah, they fly their people. That's what they fly. That's the fly they fly their construction. But we are available if you guys ever have questions about any steps in the process, and as it goes by your house, we have people dedicated to each step of the process to ensure, with people it's impossible to get a hold of them. Somebody to restore your yard, someone to ensure that you have service, somebody to talk to, and somebody to answer any questions. If you came in with the most technical of questions, we'll do our very best to answer it. Like Elliot was on the phone and talks to Heather for a long time. I wish he had talked to me because I would have told you a bunch of stuff. I heard her. Yeah, I think she was like, Elliot, we're going to get there. But like the number of fiber strands, like the number of there's some stuff where you don't need 4 fiber strands. So I heard her talking to you. You don't need 4 fiber strands because it all can go through one. We can do it. There's some stuff where we're there and we're available.
Sir?
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to ask you a couple questions. First of all, from the construction side, we have Utopia out on the street.
Yeah.
They have come into both projects on either side of us, but they have grass between the sidewalk and the curb. They haven't brought it into our neighborhood because our community, the sidewalk runs right out the curb. Is that the reason they haven't come in, or is it just
there could be different reasons. So Utopia does something to where they're the construction company. It's UIA is what it's. I think it's what they're actually their parent company. Utopia is the feel-good name that they have. So as they are building, they'll target, like on 40th. Everybody's probably seen those new apartments that have gone in. 42nd, where it turns into 40th, right across from the South Ogden building. Those big places there. A little further down, there's Lotus. There's 40th on Madison, whatever it's called. They build to those spots to provide a service, and then they have a company. They'll have a company pay them to ride the backbone or to use their lines. So they may just be passing by. So the way to tell is you go out there and open the vault up and see what's in there. If you see, they're actually the ones that we use, and I didn't bring one. I probably didn't bring one around with me. That's aerial. They're tubes. They look like look round. You see a wire going in the bottom. They're actually bigger, 24 counts with more padding. A wire going in the bottom and a wire coming out of it. That's where they splice inside of, and then that's where they can splice and create a tie point or a gap. So then they can tie in, and then they can come into your neighborhood.
If they have the big green box that says Utopia out on the
is it recessed or above ground?
Outside of the project, but nothing. They haven't come inside yet. On both sides of us, they've come inside from that box, whoever it is. I think they say USCIC or something on the truck.
Oh, those are locators. They do the locating, so they'll locate the underground utilities because that's a huge part of what we're doing. We're late to the party. Everybody else is built in the ground, and they built it whenever they were building everything else. So we're coming in, and you look at the ground, and it's like, wow, this is nice ground. But then underneath, it's like, what's actually under there? So we actually have to get everything located. So what the USIC comes out, and they tell us where power is. They tell us where water is. They tell us where so they're the blue stakes. Yeah. So they tell us where everything is. I actually have a whole bed of the pickup truck full of blue stake lines that I've pulled out of people's places. But they've after we're done. But it's so that's what they're doing is actually locating.
Well, the other thing is, I went to Utopia's website, and they have the part that I guess handles the cable hookup and the charge for that. But then you have to get an internet provider, and I think Connext was listed as one. Am I right?
We do not utilize Utopia's lines.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we do not. That's where we're building our own lines, our own proprietary lines. We're building our own network, which is different than Utopia. Utopia actually charges. I was totally blown away because I read the contracting and the franchise agreements with cities to build them, and I read through. And Utopia's franchise agreement with West Haven. West Haven they have a lien against West Haven's taxes for $1.3 million every month to pay them. Yeah, so they're actually so there's actually a bond against the city. Let me make sure I say this right, because people quote it. But there's actually a fee to the city to actually pay for the infrastructure. And if they don't meet it, then homeowners actually have to pay it. So then I think I'm not sure how West Haven's setup is. I don't know how. I've talked to a homeowner that's actually paid there for the service, but you pay $30 to get the connection per month, or you just pay outright like $3,000 or $4,000 to get the connection, and then you pay a monthly fee, and those together end up being $65-$70 just for the basic plan. We do not charge for the connection. This is what makes us different. We do not charge for the connection. We do not charge to bring it up to your home. There's no charge whatsoever to do any of it until you use the internet. We'll bring it up to your house. We'll do the installation. It's at no cost. And then once you're online and once you're doing online stuff, that's when you actually pay.
So we just didn't get lucky and get the right people, it sounds like.
I don't know. You could probably call Utopia. Well, so what city do you live in?
Pardon?
What city
I'm
do you
in
live
West Haven.
West Haven, yeah. So I right now I'm working with Amy, the attorney, and Sean, we're there to get a franchise agreement to then bring Connext Fiber into West Haven. We have a lot of interest that people would rather go with Connext versus some of the other options. So you may see us here pretty soon. We're in the final stages of that process. Yes, sir.
The tube cable they're putting in our street is about twice as big as that. Is it another company or?
Is it the black stuff?
No, it's orange.
Well, it would be. Is it this?
Yeah, that's just,
I think it might even be bigger than that.
There are bigger ones. They'll go up to like 3 inches. There's like 5 inch for power and stuff. Yeah, so they might be.
Is that a different company or?
Yeah. We use ours. Typically we use whatever this is, inch and a half, inch and a quarter. I think it's inch and 5/8 outside diameter, and then we use 3/4 inch, which is 1 inch outside diameter.
I'm still confused about this. Is going down our street and we're seeing it, and it goes to, like you said, our utility boxes where the phones come in. And
oh yeah, so that would be Central Link.
Central Link. Okay, so from there, how do they get it to the house? Through another cable, or is it what?
Yes.
Another optic cable, or?
So they're doing two different ways, because I go up, anytime I bump into anybody doing this stuff, I just walk over and ask them how it's happened, and I watch them do the things, just so I understand what other people are doing, just out of curiosity, really. So they would do something. Some of them, if they're removing the old PEDs, so some of the contractors will be tasked with PED removal or PED use. So if they have a PED, if they're taking them out and putting a whole new PED in, then they're going all fiber, and then they're going to have something similar to what this is when you open them up, similar to that. And then there'll be a plug-in that would actually go to your house. So then they would plug in, and they would do what we call a conduit or fiber drop up to your house.
So that would be at the street in that
pedestal thing. We've elected to go in-ground utility vault. It's a little tougher sometimes because sometimes they'll fill with water, just because you basically French tile out someone's yard. Then your lowest spot is these boxes, but it's better aesthetically. Looks better for the long run. You always have the leading box or whatever in people's yards.
So this other company with a larger cable like that is in our street. Now, if you were to come in the area, you would have to dig another trench and come along with yours?
We don't trench. We directionally bore.
Well.
Yes, we directionally bore, and then we hook to this, and we have it on and then we just yank
pull
the whole
it through the ground.
Yeah, pull it back, and then cut it at each wall.
So if there's 3 or 4 companies, we're going to have 3 or 4 of those things in the ground.
Yeah.
Nice.
What city do you live in?
I live right on the edge of Hupper and Roy.
So you'll have Connext, but CenturyLink's in there. CenturyLink is trying to do stuff in there too. But they have, I believe, as far as I know, the city has asked them to cease and desist to stop working because they've done stuff and haven't fixed it. So I don't know.
Who, Comcast they stopped, or?
CenturyLink.
CenturyLink?
At least that's what I've heard. I don't know. I've not heard. I just hearsay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Somebody was in the back first. Somebody had a question. Yes, sir.
I was wondering, in case of a natural disaster like an earthquake several miles or 20 miles away, what would happen? How do you reconnect, or
that's a great question.
Around it?
Because that's something I was going to lean into with. I'm actually an ARIS member, and then I grew up in Ohio. We did tornadoes, so you'd have a net. You'd fire up the net. You'd have you have your station where everybody, people go out and drive to certain areas and turn on the signals. But here, an earthquake is probably a bigger, an earthquake or fire, obviously, than a tornado. My parents actually, my family's house got hit by a tornado. Their house, or that area, well, my brother's work got totally demolished, so it's pretty, but that was a big thing. But earthquakes here, that's a really good question. So I'm going to probably ask about that. So what do we do in the case of an earthquake? What we do is, so when there is a break in the line, I probably can at least explain this. If there's a break in the line, we have a way to send a signal. So we'll kind of find out kind of where the break would be. So then we send a crew out. We go to the nearest spot, and then we'll send a locate. We'll send a fish tape down it, a metal fish tape, hook up to it, locate where it's at, dig down. Once you dig down and find where it's at, where it's broken, we'll dig it up, and then we'll splice it together. Because we have times when people, they'll rent a Mini X or whatever, and they just, I'm going to dig up my yard or whatever, and they'll call blue stakes and our stuff. So we have to splice it together. So we would find the locations that it was broken, and then we would either reattach any conduit that was needed, or we would we'd find any spots there was a break in the line, and then you can actually see a splice. I was going to actually bring a splicer with me, but I think this is enough. And then we do a splice like this, where it can splice together. But we'd splice the fiber together and repair it.
I was just wondering that, before they could get to fix it, which if the breaks all over, it might take a while, if there was any thought to patching around it with other companies or rerouting?
Yeah, so we build fiber rings around cities. So we'll go into an area and do a fiber ring, so that if there's a break, it just diverts. So that way, if there's a cut, but we call that redundancy, which I'm sure a lot of different industries probably call it that. But that's so that we try to build a ring, and then we can go to Salt Lake or go to, send it different directions, because it all pretty much runs along the highways. So it's UDOT has big lines that they use, and then it goes out into, and then it just then it gets transmitted from there or sent to wherever it's going to go. Yes, sir.
Coming out of your box, the optical part goes in. Signal that comes out of your box, then to a router. Is the part that comes out of the box, could you put that directly into an Ethernet, like to your computer? Or is there something about the signal coming out of your box that requires a router?
So that's a great question. So the optical network unit, which is this one, the other one, let's play with it. So what this does is this converts it from light to something your computer can read. There's actually routers that the same company makes. It's this little plug-in. You just have to have the exact plug-in that you can actually plug into a router. So it'll go into the router, and then your router would then route to the rest of your equipment, or you just. So this is actually where. So just make sure I'm answering this correctly. It goes to a Cat5 plug-in, because computers. I'm sure there's computers out there somewhere that go for direct fiber or something, but not that we got the word countering on a daily basis. We go to a Cat5. We just use Cat6 is what we use, because it's just better cable. We plug in here, and then it goes to your router, and then from there, then it goes to.
But the signal between that and the router is the same as the signal, for instance, on an Ethernet line. It comes out of the router, or is it a different one? I plug the part coming out of your box into an Ethernet line, go to my computer, nada.
Oh, you come out, so this could plug right into your computer. Yeah, you don't even need to go to a router. The router will allow you to go wireless. So I just the other day did an install where we just plug this straight into the person's computer. So if you're having challenge, are you on the Connext network?
We're on Utopia.
Yeah, I don't know why.
I was early adopter back in the 2000 time frame. But my daughter needs for work at home, needs a completely wired system.
A wired connection.
So I'd rather not go into a router and then to her. I would like to go direct from your box to her computer, but it don't work.
Well, you can go to a switch, so that way you have multiple plugins.
Yeah.
Like you could bring one wire.
I have a router then in addition.
Yeah, but then you go from the switch to where you'd be able to hard plug in, and then you could plug into your router.
Yeah.
So then you could still broadcast wirelessly, but then you have Because these, we only, and I don't know what Utopia's product looks like or what their equipment looks like or devices. We just offer one plug-in, then we go from there. So, you can, but you can actually plug a computer directly to this. Well,
Have you actually tried that?
Pardon me?
Have you actually?
Yeah, I just did one the other day.
Can I weigh in on that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I have Utopia.
Okay.
So here's the deal. Utopia has some stuff they need to do if you're plugging into, and let's be really clear here, there's a difference between a router and a switch. They're two completely different things. However, some routers have switches in them, okay? So Utopia has to go in and make some configuration changes if you change out your router. Okay? So what he's telling you to do, Evan, is to put a switch in there and have your daughter plug into the switch, not into the router. I'm all hardwired at home. The only thing I use the router for is the wireless stuff for my grandkids, and that's it. Otherwise, everything I have goes through a switch.
A direct connection.
Well, what makes
the computer, the problem, I won't bore you with the whole story, but I got real bad interference. I'd hit the key and the internet would go down. And the only way I've been able to work around it, seems to be going fine, is instead of having a long Ethernet line down to the shack area, now I have a router right at your box, or in this case Utopia's, and come out of it to the rest of the house, but it's got to be right there. If I put it anyplace else, nada.
Does it just do it with CW?
Pardon?
Does it just do it with CW or does it do it with phone?
I got trouble there.
Does it only CW or does it do it with phone?
It'll do it on phone.
On phone too. Yeah, because I remember when I was a kid, I'd be a little kid, be on the phone, my dad's in CW, and it's like you couldn't have a whole conversation. But I think it must. Your interior wiring, do you go into existing phone lines and stuff to get internet? Because that might be what's picking it up.
Because in fact, it's almost exclusively CW on my case.
Yeah. Yeah, my dad was only ever CW, so when I fall asleep, so Morse code makes me fall asleep.
So if I want to go back to the configuration I'm talking about, direct from the box to my daughter's computer with a splitter there, I got to get Utopia to make some changes.
Yeah, and that's what makes, when people are saying, well, what's the benefit of Connext? Well, the benefit of us is you could just come to our office and say, hey, I'm having this trouble, and we'll, like, everybody tries to come out and be like, I'm going to be the one to help. Because we all love to help. I mean, that's what we just want to do.
Thank you. It's really been thrown from a loop, and I've been fighting it for 2 years.
That's right, yeah. And that's where you just come in and visit us. And then if we can't figure it out in the office, someone comes with you or sets up a time, goes to your house, and we'll make sure that we get a workaround and get it figured out.
Thank you.
I wonder if you could also try using shielded Ethernet cable. So you're probably using unshielded cable.
That's correct.
And maybe having shielded cable instead might help.
Yes, sir.
Just a question. So when a person decides to sign up with Connext, what exactly is the package that they get? How does that, you make the connection to the backbone, I guess, there, or how does that all work when a person signs up?
Yeah, so we do, so the steps that I went through earlier, to where we come out and because we're building this. The stuff isn't built in people's homes. So we come out and there's the vault you'll see out in front of your house. There's the little green box. The side of your home that the box is on is the side we're going to land on because it's just the way it's going to go, you know. So we underground, we'll trench, or we'll missile, we call it. It's a little pneumatic mole, or it's a little like it works its way up there. We pull, we'll mount one of these on the side of your house, which is a network interface device. Typical, I'll hold it up, typical telecommunications box. You know, this goes on the side of your house. We do gray conduit, goes up. You know, this ends underneath the ground, so you're not seeing orange. And then it goes up to this. Oh, sorry. So then it goes up to So then we mount here with gray conduit that matches the boxes so it looks aesthetically pleasing. And then we go from there, and if you have existing wiring, meaning if you have Cat5 or something like that, we'll try to connect to that and see if that works, just because then we can use your existing infrastructure. If it does work, we will plug in, this will be outside, so this lives out in this box. We plug into it, and then you just have, I don't have a PoE with me, but it's a power over Ethernet, it's a little thing that plugs in and it powers everything, and then your router or your computer can plug right into that. And then so we'll get you to the point, but then if we go fiber into your house, some people want the fiber straight in their house, and there's a lot of great reasons to do that because of how much data you can send through one. You're limited with Cat5. As this comes all the way into your house, we'll try to wire it in a way that's strategic. If we can just go straight in and mount right on the other side, because everybody goes wireless now. Most people go wireless. Some cases you need to have a hard wire, but you can always hardwire from this.
Or from a switch, or
yeah, from a switch or something. So then this would be in your house, and then from there, then that's what you plug into. So you ultimately get everything at no cost, bringing it up to your home, constructing the network, and then we offer one plug-in. What you choose to do with that plug-in when you got it is on you. Yeah, and then we can help you however we need to help you maximize your, at least give you advice what other people do, how it works.
So does that device essentially replace the cable modem?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, the modem's becoming antiquated at this point, so this is the optical version of a modem. Yes, sir.
I've already got fiber coming into my house. It's a condo. It's only 5 years old. We've got CenturyLink. Can you use that fiber coming into my house?
Well, I would have to take a look at it. So I specialize in ensuring that MDUs and HOAs and complexes get connected, or that get future-proofed or retrofitted. Where do you actually live at? Because I'm interested.
Cherry Springs. It's a 55-plus community in North Ogden. It's right next to the golf course up there, the White Barn Golf Course.
Yeah, it would depend how it was built, because a lot of places now that are newer, they're actually building fiber directly to every residence.
Well, my fiber goes right into my house, and when they came out to do Comcast, he
just plugged right into it?
Plugged right into it somehow, yeah.
Yeah, and that would be, so if the infrastructure belongs to your community or to your home, then we can plug into it. So if we go in and we do what we call future-proofing or retrofitting, we'll go into, we're approaching a lot of places we've built past that were built in the 70s and 80s, and they just don't have even Cat5 that we can plug into, is we'll actually bring in electricians, and we have master electricians, journeymen, the whole team of electricians come in, and they'll actually wire every single residence with one plug-in. So they'll offer this on the wall on a jack for every single resident. Now, if we did that and another company came along, we obviously wouldn't want them just plugging right into our stuff because we paid to put it in. So that would be the difference if we could use it or not.
Depends on who owns that.
It depends on who owns it, yeah. So that's the difference. Yes, sir.
So I have a question. So that device, you said it's the interface from fiber optic to the Ethernet or Cat5 or 6, like you said. Does that run off of 12 volts? And because you were mentioning that you use a power over Ethernet projector, so is it just off of a 12 volt system?
If somebody's eyes are better than mine and could read them, this is the adapter.
Okay.
But so the PoE, I mean, it runs.
So can the system work if like alternating current goes down, like we're having a windstorm right now, and the overhead power line will, crash down to the trees?
Great.
Will the system still have a way of running? And if you have like a battery bank system and have that PoE powering the inverter box there, can you do that? And the other question I have is, do you guys actually look at the depth when you're digging? Because I live on 24th Street, and I swear I've seen through Roto-Rooter when they did the camera, find out why my sewage was blocked, an orange line through my...
through your sewer lateral?
Yeah, and they said you've got to breach before you even get to the city.
How recently is
Oh, this has been a long time ago, because you guys ran some fiber along West 24th Street, and the guy said that it's all just for the fire station down the street for Ogden City, and they went and just, did their thing and put everything back, and then I started having sewage problems with clean out the camera.
Have you repaired it? Is it repaired now?
No, it's still the way it is because I tried to get a hold of them. They said, well, you live in this, 24th Street is a state street, you know, it's part of the state system, so you have to go through the state, this division, and blah, blah, blah. And I call, and, you know, it's just, hello, welcome to blah, 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 and you never get a hold of anybody.
So who did the infrastructure? Who did the actual project?
I'm not, that's why we've never been able to find out, but I have like an orange cable.
Yeah, you have conduit on string. Yeah, we call that a lateral hit. Yeah, we do.
Some of
Those
those
happen.
houses had clay sewage pipes, not cast iron sewage pipes, and stubs.
Yeah, like a direct hit, just straight through direct hit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just broke right through both ways. Yeah, that's something that we do see happen. The thing would be figuring out who actually did the project. I'll give you my information, and I can look at our backbone of what we did. Because we did do some Ogden City projects to where we did bring fiber to Ogden City, and I could look into where those took place at. I didn't do that construction portion of the project, so I'm not sure. But I could be glad, we could probably find out whose line it actually is. You know how to figure it out? Call in blue stakes on your house, and they'll come out and mark it. Whoever comes out and marks that line, that's whose it is. That's
then you got the best, like you said, you know.
Yes.
Clay pipe sewage.
So when we're doing it, we're locating. If you go where we've just worked, and anybody that's seen us come through, is you'll see 2.2, 2.8, or 2 foot 8. That's the footage, how deep we are. We try to stay right. But sometimes we got to kind of go like this because, like I said, we're late to the party. Everything else is in, so we got to miss stuff. One of the most important thing is safety. Whether it's because the sewer lateral is a big deal. If that backs up in your house, that's not good. So safety for us is the most important thing. Anything that is located by a locator, where they put flags out and Blue Stakes finds it, we actually dig down, and this is one of the more time-consuming portions of the project, is we actually dig down and visually watch the drill pass. So somebody gets to each hole, as we're drilling, and we're doing what happened in your lateral, as we're doing that sort of directional boring that went through your lateral, as we're doing that, we watch every utility. Sometimes we got to come up a little bit, up a little bit, up a little bit. We'll go up, and then we'll go down, and we try not to weave in between stuff, but we try to miss it. We'll stay above everything. If you realize there's a whole bunch of stuff at a certain depth, because we call it potholing or utility locating. Pothole and look, and then you walk down the whole street and say, okay, it's all this. Everything is this deep. Everything is, and then we just do our best to kind of pass through. But I would call in Blue Stakes, have them locate specifically that location. Call Blue Stakes and say, I need this area located, whatever it is. Whoever comes out and marks those flags, that's who you know it is.
Right. But my house was built in 1865.
Well, but for the fiber line.
They used clay and
yeah, but whoever's fiber line that is responsible.
Okay.
That's how you find out. And whoever comes out and marks it. Because it would be CenturyLink or Comcast or... it's probably previous before we were... How many years ago did it happen? Oh, wow, it's a long time ago. Yeah, I would call and locate... I would call in Blue Stakes on it and have it located. And then you could just call them and just say, hey, let's just... Because we have all day, every day, we have people that have routers that have a camera on the end with a little screen. We're sending it inside, looking at stuff, trying to investigate underground, and looking at things constantly. This is all day, every day. If there's something, hey, we got water coming up through a crack in the sidewalk, we'll send it through, find a spot, dig down, fix what has been. Because sometimes you just have, there's just random like land drains, or you have like drains up. It's really gutter drains are the ones I just saw the other day. That comes across and you just accidentally hit it. You dig it up, fix it, repair it, and all day, every day, we're just looking and making sure. So the company who, when you call in the Blue Stakes on that, locates it and shows who it is, then they should have someone that can just they'll just go to your clean out, send the camera down it, look at it, you can see it, verify, and then it'll be on them to replace that.
Brian?
Yes, sir.
Getting the drops to each house, when you have the ground box and the dividers and stuff, say you've got houses all along the street and they're all aerial fed, so the lines will go back up the pole, and then to the next pole, they would be drops like cable to each house. I don't see any of those, but you would prefer everything underground. They would come down the pole and underground in, or
So if you get if homes get their power from the power pole, we will historically run the fiber from the power pole. Some places do have.
so we would go through your switching, and then a single line would go up and to that pole, and then a aerial drop would go in.
The way to tell if it's our stuff, and the way that it would to know if it's going to go aerially to your home, is you'll look up and you'll see one of these Connext tags, and they're actually just zip tied to the lines. Ours are orange. You can look up and you can see them. You'll also see, to know if it's going to come from the pole, this is actually an aerial. This is actually an aerial nap. The ones that are in ground don't have these holes. These holes are actually what, this is where the fiber comes in. Probably one of them runs the messenger line. But so these actually will be hanging up there. And they'll be hanging pretty much at every pole or between two houses. We try to have it closer to the pole. You see it in the middle, it's called a midspan. So that's where we actually have to go up, and then we run it to your house. We have a special ladder that we put on the wire and climb up there, and then we pull it. We'll pull the messenger wire to your house. But so if you see this on, if you see we're below, so you'll see us, and we have to be a certain distance below. And you'll look up, and the fiber is one of the smaller of the wires. And you'll see a little service loop there. And you'll see one of these, and that's how you know that it's coming from the pole to your house. Now, if there's risers coming down, and nothing is going to any houses, because there's a lot of pre-existing infrastructure that then goes underground, and the power comes down, and then it goes to the house. If everything is riser to underground, then you're going to know. And if you see one of our boxes, which is a vault kind of near the pole, then you're going to know that it's going to go underground to your house.
I think it must be during construction. We see a lot of coils of cable, and that's put there and measured so that another crew will come and take care of that.
And pull it from there to use it
from there.
So when we do fiber drops to houses, we just plug into one of these. Then we go messenger wiring over. When there's those service loops, those big service loops, those are for some additional. Those are ones that use enough of a service loop to make it to the ground into a vault. You'll usually see our riser, and you can actually go up and tell it's our riser.
Okay, the next question have to do with bending ratios. I think cable and their fiber trunk lines, they can't be bent sharply, so they go around a form that they can't bend it any closer than that. How about these cables?
Yeah, so that's actually a great one. The box that I was going to bring in, the bigger one, and I can show if anybody wants to see it, it actually has one of those inside of it, to where it's as much as you could possibly bend it. For just a regular line, like this one, if I just went, like it just snaps it. So these really can't bend much more than probably that. This is actually a 24 count, and it's been mid-sheathed, we call it. And then we've peeled out inside of here. We've peeled out the strands, which is the distribution side, and then and here's the part where it comes in, and then here's the part where it goes out.
Can show it to them down there too.
Yeah. So this is in here. This is about the most that it can get bent. Much more than that is too much. But when we do the fiber drops to homes, we use what we call easy bend. It's a type. It's a little bit different fiber. And it can be bent to 2.5 millimeters. So it can be bent, it can have a 90 and 2.5 millimeters. These are an inch or two or a few inches. That pretty much shows the tightest that you really want to go on each one. But you would not, if this wasn't mid-sheath, you wouldn't be able to bend the whole thing like that. Like you wouldn't be able to just, inside there, just be too tight to bend. It would be too much on it. There's an example, we could probably just Google the exact. I just know that we're like, well, that seems like we're squeezing it too tight. And we're putting it in a box. You can coil it up inside of a vault pretty tight, but we don't. When it gets to a certain point, you just can kind of, that just seems too tight. There's an exact bend radius for each wire. Might even be printed on them even. But these, you don't really want to go much more than that. But easy band, you can go, like I said, 2 points. So this is for going around corners. This is for dropping through people's houses. You can bend it, easily like that around the corner.
Do you charge for maintenance calls when there is a problem?
No, we have some residents that really like the accompaniment of our technicians. They like them to come over and see them. And some people just, they're just, at home alone all the time, and they want to. We have gone to one lady's house. I think it's 70 times. We think she might like one of our technicians. So yeah, some of the folks, especially our network was pretty small a few years ago. It's really growing now at this point because we're passing a lot more houses. But at one point there was, we knew people by name. Like somebody can say a street, somebody can say in Clinton, they can say a street because we had, I remember I called it the original store. We were live in just a little area. Somebody could name off an address and I could say, oh, so-and-so. So-and-so. And I remember their names. We become friends with some of the people. We can say there's one lady's name, we say the name, and everybody's like, oh, so-and-so. We become intimate and friends with the folks that we work because we are a part of the community. We've connected the community. Every community that we work in, we are members of the community because we're in the ground and we're there for the next 50 years. So we can do nothing but be part of the community.
Okay, the decibels has been mentioned in cable TV. We tried to get the cable in at 0 dB, and that will power a couple of 3 sets. What's your what signal strength, or how do you explain that that you get to the box on the side of the house?
Great question. So we're at about 5 decibels when we are out at this thing, when we're out in our active cabinet. So this thing right here, actually this is a tier 3. An active cabinet is where, I don't think we have a picture of an active cabinet, but an active cabinet we have so the way that we divide it up, one pond does 128 connections, one region does 1,280 connections, and each region has an active cabinet, and that's where it gets power. There'll be a total of 10 of these. We've sometimes had there's places where we're still building, and we don't have all of there's not as many connections, so we'll actually have more ponds in a region, or 2 more maybe or something. So the signal gets pushed from our active cabinet. At that point, it's at 5 decibels. So then it pushes it in our back hall, which something that you might see when you have the Utopia box out front is there's still a box and you look through, but then you'll just, if you go open it up and there's just a big 60-meter service loop or something inside, it's just a pass-through or it's just going on to somewhere else. It'll actually go, we have our backbone kind of cruising along and going around, and it'll be going from the active cabinet to one of these, to a tier 3. At a tier 3, we do a split. So we have so many, I think we do a 1x32, just like that. So we split the signal. Each time we split the signal, there's a little bit of signal loss. So we'll go down to around 10 or 12, negative 10 or 12, once we've gone from the active cabinet, once we've split at the, and there's splices all along the way, where it's spliced together. So then when we get to the tier 3, you'll lose a little bit more signal because you're plugging stuff in. You're plugging stuff in and it's splitting the signal. Then when we split the signal, then it has to go to where it gets spliced in a splice case out in front of your house, and then we'll have, we splice in what we call a pigtail, which I think this is what this is right here. This isn't exactly what we use, but it looks close enough. And then from there, then it goes into your house, and we plug it in. Now every time it gets plugged in, you just lose a little bit. Every time it's spliced, you lose a little bit. Every time, so you're losing a little bit. So by the time we get to the house, you're about negative 13. The ones we were testing yesterday were negative 13.5. And then we went into an apartment building to where we then did 1x4 splits. So then we split it there, and the signal went to negative 20.3 decibels, which is still a great signal. It'll still get you, I don't know how many hundreds of gigs you can still send through one of those, but it still is a lot. So that's the decibels. We try to stay under 25. We can still offer internet services higher or lower, however you want to say it, but the higher negative number than that, but we like to stay in that range because we just feel that it's a better signal for the future. And we tested each spot along the way. So we test the decibels. I think we get around 0 when we get here. It might even get here, it might be 3 or 2 or 3. I could call and find out because I know the guy that builds all these. Does anybody have any more questions?
Yeah, I think I do.
Yes, sir.
About becoming your customer.
Okay.
Okay, I hear you're in my area. I call up. Oh, we're not in your neighborhood. Does that mean you will make an effort to come to my neighborhood, or I have to wait for you to make it?
What city do
for you to decide that it's worthy of wiring our neighborhood?
We want to wire every neighborhood. Our goal, so our slogan, and I have some stickers up here, is let's get Utah connected. I mean, our goal is to bring a connection to every single home, every single apartment, everywhere. But that's what makes our programming different. It's nice to know that there's going to be a lot of people that get on the network. If everybody's in a contract for the next 20 years, which are apartment complexes like that, we're not going to build up to it, only because they're in a contract for 20 years or whatever. But if people are not in a contract, so that would be the financial side where we'd say, oh, well, maybe we don't want to build up to that complex. But we want to we want to offer a connection. This is our agreement with the city, is to every single resident or residents throughout the city. Offer the connectivity to everyone. Because that's what we do. What makes it different of like when you see the Utopia lines going by to these new apartment complexes, 40th and Madison, Lotus, whatever, my job is to go out and get them to sign up. They are already having Utopia drill their way over to where they're at and bring them a line so they can sell those customers to another internet service provider because they're the construction company. So that's what makes it different. We're building everything. We're just marching along. We're on a long line from Hooper all the way up to unincorporated Weber County. And unfortunately, not as far as you're at in unincorporated Weber. Close. And we're just pushing one. Just like the band, we're pushing one direction. We're also right now we're at the edge of Ogden City, through Harrisville, across. I should go through all the cities that we do offer service. I will in just a second. All the way throughout all to far west, through Plant City, all the way to the west side of town, at whatever that is, 1,200, 1,800 west, or whatever that is. Actually, further than that. Whatever it is, it's all the way on the outside of town. And we're just converging on it. Right now, our goal is to connect all of the Ogden metro area by the end of this next year. So that's really where we're at. We are now almost fully live in Kaysville, Fruit Heights. We are in South Weber is completed. Sunset completed. Roy near completion. Clinton completed. There's maybe a couple of complexes, apartments that we still want to get connected. But the whole entire city has a citywide network and fiber strands for every single home and every single residence. We are finishing Roy. We're pushing. We're completing Riverdale. We're completing the Terrace. The Terrace we're finishing up all the splicing right now. As soon as we get a connection that goes between two of our cabinets, all of that area is going to be live. We're getting close on South Ogden. We're pushing into Ogden. We're just right into Ogden through South Ogden right now. We are complete in Plain City, far west. We're just starting in Harrisville. We're about to break. We've already done our groundbreaking ceremony, but we are about to do Pleasant View, and all of that is going to complete the Ogden Metro.
North Ogden.
North Ogden did something where they agreed to have All West build. That's another company that they've got backed by a company out of Canada, and they want them to get a foothold in the Ogden Metro. We still might go in and do North Ogden. I'll just leave it at that. We're really, really good at what we do. We're really, really clean at what we do, and we are able to provide connections much quicker. So I don't know what's happening exactly with All West, but I know that they are not very far in North Ogden.
They just dropped in my neighborhood a couple months back.
Are you guys able to get
I'm signing up, but they're in the phase where no one's got service yet.
Yeah. I don't know where they're actually going to end. So I mean, they're still they're kind of just built some stuff.
There's a little, they call it a flower pot out on the the strip along my, the division between my neighbor's yard and mine. It's about 40 feet out. They said that they would, for free, bring the fiber all the way up and into the house, and then the modem you kind of rent with your service.
Oh, yeah.
So the conversion, like the media converter, like you've got, something similar to what they do.
Yeah.
Whether that's any good, I don't know yet.
Yeah, well, I haven't heard of anybody actually being online that would go, so.
Brian would like to have everybody get a chance to come up one-on-one and visit and look at these things, and all of that. We appreciate your presentation.
Yeah, thank you so much.
There are a couple things I would like to clarify a little bit, because I have gigabit service for $50 a month. The reason I have that is because I bought out the Connect fee. So Utopia connects, they're a utility, obviously, the same as a water or electrical or whatever. You have a Connect fee on your house if you're going to connect to electrical. And that's the way Utopia works. I paid $2,750 to buy them out.
Damn.
So I no longer have a fee to Utopia because I bought it. I'm done with that. I only pay for my ISP, and I've got several to choose from. Now, what's been described to you with Connext is exactly the right way to do it. I've gone through DSL, I've gone through, which was US West, Quest, and whatever they are today. And they even brought fiber lines behind other people. But, anybody who tells you they're going to give you up to 40 meg or 40 whatever, 40 meg, you can plan on that up to being about this much. Okay? I mean, that's just the way that it works. So, if you get fiber, and Brian's done a great job of explaining that little tiny strand has so much bandwidth in it, it's just hard to even conceive how wide those pipes are, which is why you can feed an entire community the size of Ogden with one of those little guys. It's just amazing. You might have done the project I did when I was the IT guy for Ogden City over Y2K. We put in dark fiber to our campuses. We actually had 2 runs going to the new public safety building to make sure that if one went down, we had another one we could get into. Anyway, that was a lot of years ago. But what's been described to you is good stuff. You want fiber that comes to your house. So when I had sent, whoever they are, Xfinity these days, Comcast, their fiber came out to my curb, then they'd run coax up to my house. Now, the drop in signal is significant. The bandwidth drop is significant, which is why I wasn't getting the speeds, nor was I getting, what I had expected. As soon as you get fiber that comes into your home, all of a sudden when they start talking about quarter gig, half gig, gigabit speeds, you're getting those speeds both up and down. You no longer have the issue of, oh yeah, we hear you, you called in, you're getting your full 40, but you can only push 6 back, which is pretty common in the industry. So what you're getting with Connext is you're getting the whole package all together. They're doing the infrastructure, and then Brian did a great job of describing it. It takes a long time to get all that infrastructure in front of you. There's a second process of getting that into your home, and then you've got the third process of them setting up the ISP so that they can do the electrical connections through it. So it's great stuff. It really is. It's always up to every one of us who we want to choose to do and who's available to us. But the ground's getting crowded. I used to be a city manager. People would come into me. Someone wanted to bring a pipeline in from Wyoming for natural gas and wanted to run it through a street that didn't have any room left on it. Because we already have 48-inch pipes for one thing and 36-inch pipes for others and all kinds of other stuff in that street. There's just no way you can pack it through, all the extra stuff. Well, when you're in a heavy residential area, that doesn't work. And the other thing is that some folks don't understand, there are easements not only between the sidewalk and the street, but there's an easement beyond your sidewalk into your property a little bit. And there are many utilities that can go through there, which causes some consternation when you get to be friendly with someone because they, whacked out your sprinklers or your water line or whatever else they've done, or they've drilled through your clay pipe. So anyway, we do appreciate, it's been a great presentation. You've very well described, what goes on there. If you've got questions one-on-one, please come up, visit with him. We've got, how much time we have left? 30 minutes. We've got about, 15, 20 minutes before we have to clean up and go out. They're having a tutoring class in here or something at 11, so.
So I do have an interesting fact. So most folks think they need a lot of data. Like Elliot thinks he needs time. So we have a lot of data. Well, you would not believe how little amount cities use. The entire city, thousands of people on it, do not top out at 10 gigs at 7 o'clock at night when everybody's watching Disney Plus or whatever they're doing. Everybody's home. The whole entire city will not even top out at 10 gigs per second, which is pretty amazing. Really? I think people use a lot less than they need. So I think the numbers, don't let the numbers fool you as far as like how much data, like say the 250 plan or the 500 plan or the gigabit plan, how much you actually need. Yes, sir.
It isn't so much the amount of data, it's the latency in that data.
Yes.
Especially when you've got kids that are playing on the internet, whatever games, and on and on. So with regular, not fiber, but with regular connections, Comcast, whatever, the more people you add to it, the bigger your latency. Sure, you might be able to push all kinds of data, but the latency gets worse the more people you add to it. So with fiber, how does that work?
Yeah, it's a great question. So with, as everybody who has Comcast knows, or whatever company that they have that provides it through coaxial cable, when everybody gets online, it slows way down. That's because they're just only able to push so much. Ours does not get affected at all by how many people are on. We at one point had a little bit of an issue before we had redundancy. We identified it, we fixed it, and that would never be an issue with us. Because we don't have that bottleneck. The same kind of bottleneck that they have, we do not have those. Which is awesome. And like if you have kids that are gamers, which I'm personally not a gamer, but my son is if you have kids that are gamers, the people that are waiting at Call of Duty probably have fun.
Thank you, Brian.